Hey friends, I'm Ash.
I'm Elle,
We are Lovey Cosplay.
and this is Shenanigans Cosplayers Say. Because we are banking episodes, we have no update for you.
No.
We do know at this point we are into November, and ColossalCon North is coming shortly. And we will have already done AkiCon at this point in time.
Yes.
But we don't have updates because we're banking episodes because we're being smart.
Responsible adults.
You will eventually find out why, but we decided to be proactive and bank our episodes for you so that you would not have a massive delay like what happened previously.
Yes, because we know of other things that are going to happen that are going to delay us from being able to record. So,
Yes. So we'll give you updates when we have them. Probably by North's episode, we will have updates for you because we can't really pre-record that one. That one has to get recorded after the convention happens. So, but we have some really exciting things coming for you at North, including the return of Cosnanigans Variety Hour, which is out on Saturday and
so
not
excited.
Sunday.
I'm so
excited. We just got our schedule and we're so excited because it's not on Sunday.
Because it's not on Sunday.
Well, it's not on Sunday and it's at a great time. So
it is.
We're very excited to bring that show to all of you and then cause some chaos during intermission for the cosplay contest.
Yes.
So definitely come hang out with us on Saturday.
Absolutely.
But speaking of contests, we are going to bring you some contest content today.
I know. You guys really like our contest content and our psychic content. So
we're combining them.
Surprise. One thing that's been brought up several times to us to talk about, and it took a while for, I think, us to kind of feel like we were in the right mindset to talk about it, is what I would refer to as backseat judging.
Yes, we had experienced some of this relatively recently, and I think I needed some time for separation. But this topic's been sitting for a while because it's been requested a lot, specifically after the situation at New York Comic Con
last year
with the Mimic. This has been a topic that we've had submitted a lot.
Yes. So, I mean, the big question that we get is, why do some people get so invested in costume contest outcomes? And why do they feel the need to spread their opinions on the quote unquote unfairness of those outcomes on the internet? So, in a nutshell.
Yes. That is the very eloquent way to put the question that we do typically get. And I think it does depend a lot on who's doing the talking, right?
Right. So obviously you'll have some people that are audience members. These could be people that were physically present at the contest, but they could also be people on streams. I see a lot of kind of not great look type comments on either live streams or even uploaded contest videos.
Oh yeah, the after the fact commentary that you see quite a bit. Yeah.
Other contestants or handlers from the same contest, typically on behalf of, and I'll put that in air quotes, of someone else. So it's not that I'm offended because I didn't win and this person did instead. It's I'm offended and loud because the person that's not me, that I think should win, did not win.
It's a little bit of white knighting.
Yes. And then you would just feel bad also for the person who they're saying it on behalf of, because it's a bad look for them.
Yeah, and they may not be condoning that representation.
Then you'll have a big blanket group of people who weren't there at all, but they may have seen pictures, videos, written descriptions of cosplayers, costumers, portions of the event through things like social media. They may or may not actually be part of that particular convention's community.
So it's not always people that actually attend.
Yeah. People from around the world.
Well, and I also want to call out the social media influencers as kind of like a separate group too, who rely on the attention from these topics for their channels, who may or may not also be part of the conventions community.
Right.
And some of them, it's a very positive interjection, and some of them it's not.
Yeah. It depends on your influencer and the type of content that they like to make for their channel.
Right.
So when we were kind of like boiling this down, the closest thing I could think of in quote unquote real life outside of like our community had a lot to deal with the social identities of sports fans.
Right.
And why they're so invested. So fans, which this would relate, I think, to all of us who go to these types of events in some particular fashion, are people who are enthusiastically devoted to something or somebody, such as a band, sports team, book, or entertainer. Cosplay contest participants and attendees are already fans.
Right. So and we've seen this around, like, the kids that drive you crazy, the Homestucks are what I always think of, like the really obsessive fan. Sure. Like, we have them just like the sports people.
Yeah.
And they may be really obsessive with a particular cosplayer because of what they're cosplaying, or it may be for who they are.
Sure.
It's kind of that weird, like, in between. You don't always know where, like, the fandom is being driven from.
Yeah. So, I mean, being at, let's say, an anime convention, you're probably a fan of anime or something along those lines.
Maybe.
Just, blanket topics.
Or you just like water parks. I don't know.
You could just like
which one you're at.
Yeah. So there might
be with a capital P.
That stands for pool.
That stands for pool.
Fans of the media the costumes from. So we're going to a lot of comic, anime, gaming type conventions. That's the type of event that a lot of these contests are being held at. Fans of the character or character concept, fans of the character or costume design elements. I know a lot of times I actually will pick what I want to play and what I want to watch based off of the character designs. Mm-hmm. So, and there are plenty of times that I've wanted to cosplay something before I had ever actually encountered that character in its quote unquote like natural element. Like Yuna's a perfect example. I had never played 10 the first time I cosplayed as Yuna. And now I'm talking about making my like third or fourth costume of hers. Fourth, fifth. True. I don't know. I lost count. Fans of the media or crafting materials a costume is made with. So, if you have people that are really into like tambour embroidery, or people that are just huge on Warbler, like that type of thing. Fans of the style of performance that was utilized to show off the costume. So you'll see this a lot, I think, with like flow routines or some of the more like circusy type performances. Mm-hmm. But you see it with musicals and everything else too. General fans of crafting, general fans of cosplay, fans of specific cosplayers. And I think this is especially more true now that there are so many cosplayers that are also influencers.
Yes.
So that brings us to what is referred to as the social identity theory. So different groups which people belong to can be a source of pride and self-esteem. So you're going back to your sports fans and my team, my player. So being a fan can help people feel connected and a sense of belonging, which helps reduce feelings of loneliness and isolation, which I think we would all like that little
and I think
hit of the happy feel-good chemicals.
That's definitely a big reason people go to con.
Uh-huh. Oh. Fans can develop emotional connection to their fandom. Which,
we've never seen that at a convention.
I know.
Ever.
Which we've talked about before. Fans can feel a sense of purpose, excitement, and fulfillment from their investment. That can be time, money, emotions. Definitely see that. Fans come together to celebrate victories and commiserate over losses, creating a strong support network. Mm-hmm. You see this a lot in our communities too, not just sports fans, but I think of like ships or like epic battles that happen. Or I remember when Game of Thrones was actively going on HBO every week, everyone would talk about how George R. R. Martin killed their favorite character.
Yes.
So
yeah, it's a bonding experience.
It's a bonding experience. Fans can enjoy the thrill of competition, which a lot of people do. And fans can show pride for their community.
Right. Those kind of remind me of like the audience for the Idol Fest.
Oh yeah.
Like the amount, like you'd say the name of a certain group, and then like you would hear obviously where their fans were in the audience because they would lose their minds.
Yes.
Like
Absolutely.
They were super invested in that performance because they were there for that specific group.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it's no different than any other like team sport essentially,
right,
in that instance. So this brings us to a term called berging, which stands for basking in reflected glory. So when your your sports team or other team, depending, or person or whatever it is doing well, you feel great.
Right.
So research shows that on the day after a team's win, people feel better about themselves. They say, we won. And obviously they don't mean we personally, they mean we as a collective community, we have won. And the closer you identify with the team, the more likely you are to berg.
Right.
And I would also say this happens a lot. The feel goods here are why we have so many Super Bowl babies.
Oh, yeah. That would make sense.
So the 40 weeks after the Super Bowl, whoever's team won that city shows an increase of birth rates.
That's funny.
So,
I mean, it reminds me of like how we are with internationals. And,
oh yeah.
Like we're gonna cheer for Team USA, and then we would get really excited if Team USA actually like placed in anything, because it's your team.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
well, and if you go on the live chats for the international live chats on Twitch or wherever they're streaming them, you've got the whole comment section is filled with like flag emojis and people like rooting for their team.
Oh yeah, I mean, ICL just recently happened. I'm sure if you went to look at the stream, it's just going to be flags.
Yeah,
because that's primarily like that's how that chat goes. Because you have like 14, I think now, different countries. Count. So you're gonna people are just talking in flag emojis.
Yeah, they're rooting for their people constantly. Right. And then you'll have the like random other person that's like, hey, I know them.
Right.
That was me when our handler was on the screen when I watched last year. I was like,
yes, we know him.
I know him.
We knew all 3 people that were Team USA this year.
Yes.
So,
yes. So we've already identified in some of our competition episodes that it does feel good to win. That's not a secret. Berging is just reinforcing that same, but is also true for fans, not just for the people participating. So positive feedback helps to reinforce personal identity as fans, boost self-esteem, and this could be for fans of being a fan of the specific cosplayer, the media the costumes from, or a certain type of costume. Like some people are really into armor builds or larger than life.
Well, and then this makes me kind of think of like, when we went to ICL and we didn't win, all like the responses that we got back of people being like, oh no, you didn't win. It was like upset responses.
Oh yeah.
And we were like, we're okay.
Like we're fine. It's
but
okay.
They were obviously feeling the feels.
Yes.
Because the US didn't win, but we're like, we're okay with losing. It's fine.
We're like the people that we think should won. So we had
many people though that we had to like because they were invested.
Yes.
We
had to de-escalate them.
Us personally and
validate their feelings
as Team USA, and we did have to have like we ended up having to do a post that was like, we're okay, we lost. It's okay. We're fine with it. We don't need consoling. Nobody needs to be upset about it. We're good. Like, it's fine.
Yeah.
Well, and I feel like that probably happens with sports teams too, is I sometimes feel like some of these fans are more upset and invested than the players are. In some cases.
Quite possibly.
Like, when it's like a regular game and it's not like, the Super Bowl or
right.
Something like
that. Or
when
they get extra crazy in the preseason, you're like, this doesn't even count.
Right. You're like, it's fine. They're practicing. Like, chill.
It's all good.
Right.
Just don't injure yourselves. That's all we care about. Another thing you see that comes up a lot is where, the person that's making all the claims is they have that like, I know more than you mentality.
Oh, yeah.
So in a craftsmanship-based contest, for those of you that have never participated, or for those of you that need a reminder, there is a set group of individuals who are selected to review costume entries and supporting documentation in their entirety. Compare those entries with all of the others within the field of competition, which is only the people that are competing on that day in that contest, and select the winners based on the written rules and criteria as set forth by the masquerade director. That's going to be your judges. And that's it. Yep. No one else has access to every competitor's reference materials, research, and build book. No one else has access to view up close and possibly physically touch every costume in the competition. No one else has interviewed every single maker regarding the details of their build. No one else knows the depth of how each item was crafted. No one else was handpicked to complete all of those tasks based on their knowledge, skills, and abilities as a craftsman, how well they complement others on the judging panel, and their respectability and professionalism. And I don't mean that as they're saying nice things about each other.
Right.
I mean, they complement each other as in their skills offset one another. So yes. You don't have all people that are really talented in one area, but no others.
Yes.
Most of them have likely, most of the people that are making this commentary likely have not even read the rules for the contest, let alone studied them or revisited them if necessary. They may or may not have access to or have viewed the rubric that's used or know of any other criteria when making their determinations.
I find that a lot of them have zero clue about how the contest works at all. Like, they don't know what craftsmanship means. Mm-hmm. They just know that the really cool looking thing didn't win and they're mad about it.
Yeah. Some of the people making the commentary may not be makers themselves, and some of them might not even be cosplayers. So not only are they not craftsmen, but some of them are also people that don't cosplay.
I would say in what I've seen, a large number of them are both of those things. They are not makers and they are not cosplayers, but they want to have an opinion.
Yes. Yeah. Well, like you said, they don't know what the craftsmanship is.
Yeah.
And or if they do, they don't care.
Well, and I do think that and part of this comes from, also most MCs not being competitive cosplayers, but I do think that contest coordinators would probably be a good idea to give your MC something to read at the beginning of these contests that states what people are actually being judged on. It won't curb all of this because some people are going to want to complain anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But I do feel like that is something more and more that maybe needs to be mentioned again, because there's so many new people in this community and they don't understand what the purpose of the contest actually is.
Well, and I feel like when it first started moving towards craftsmanship back in the day, and away from just everybody just getting on stage because you did a thing. Back when it started first really swinging in the craftsmanship direction, I feel like even if your MCs didn't do it, because a lot of times your MCs were just people that worked for the con.
Yes.
And they hosted several things, or they just wanted to host the thing. A lot of times the director of the contest would come out and say something either at the beginning or like during deliberations, or at least, before awards came through. And I think it's nice to remind people of that several times. So you catch everybody, including the latecomers. But it helps manage expectations, I think, a little bit better if everybody kind of knows this is what's happening, this is what's already happened, and this is what's going to happen.
Yes, I think that would be nice, even though we know that the people that need to hear it probably aren't going to listen.
No.
Just like the people that need to hear this episode probably aren't going to listen to it.
Also that.
That's what always happens.
That's okay. It is what it is. It'll help the rest of us manage our expectations about these people.
Yes. Speaking of expectations, I had completely forgotten about this term until you found it.
Haha, go me.
And then I went back down the rabbit hole of this term again.
Excellent. So the next concept we're going to talk about is called the Dunning-Kruger effect. And it is a type of cognitive bias in which people believe they are smarter and more capable than they actually are. So low ability people do not possess the skills needed to recognize their own incompetence.
Yep.
And their combination of poor self-awareness and low cognitive ability leads them to overestimate their abilities. So this is the opposite of our friend imposter syndrome.
Yes. Talk about this term because this came up like both in psych but in philosophy courses that I had as well, because this concept has evolved with, like, especially with our current political climate, which by the time this airs, I think we will know who the next president of the United States is. I believe. Let me check. I think so. It's the 7th of November. This should air on the 10th.
Yeah.
So we will know who the next president of the United States is. But that's what I keep thinking of when I look at this, is it's just, and it goes with that concept too of the, like, having trouble changing your mindset with, like, fact versus opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go to our fact versus opinion episode, you're going to see a lot of overlap with this particular concept, where it's really, really hard to change the thought process you already have.
Yeah.
And so then you have these people who have really poor self-awareness. They may or may not have low cognition, but they think they literally know everything, regardless of whether or not their experience, like, supports that. And I'm super entertained by the name of the paper that this concept comes from. So the name, as is common with most things, this effect is named after two Cornell University psychologists, so David Dunning and Justin Kruger. But their paper from 1999 was titled Unskilled and Unaware of It. And I think that perfectly describes what we keep seeing.
Yes.
As backseat judging with contests.
I mean, I think some of these in general are just really entertaining. One of the Psych Today articles that I read was called "You're Really Not That Smart." And I'm just like, please.
Our best friend Psychology Today.
Excellent.
I love them.
Yep. So there's a lot that goes into Dunning-Kruger.
Yes.
But,
it is a deep dive.
It is a deep dive. So part of it is that the person lacks knowledge and they think that they know more than the experts, which I think sums up this situation quite well. I think this person should win, and obviously I know better than the people that were actually hired to make that determination. In Dunning-Kruger, the less somebody knows, the more likely they are to have a strong opinion about the topic. Yet reading through a lot of this stuff, it made me think about how we've talked about imposter syndrome, and I'm like, yeah, I could definitely see how this would be considered like opposite.
Absolutely.
Because once you get to that level, you can scrutinize your own work to that, like, nth degree, right, more so than, like, the layperson, and then you second guess everything.
The person who's suffering from imposter syndrome thinks that they don't have the skills, yes, and that they lack the knowledge and they lack the expertise, when in fact that is not true.
Yeah, they just happen to, like, know so much more than they did in the beginning, and now they're, like, second guessing everything.
Yes, so, absolutely.
The Dunning-Kruger person is not that, though.
No, they do not second guess themselves. They think they know everything.
They do. So this means if you are arguing a point with someone that has beliefs that are not rooted in facts, the person's going to stick to their opinion, even presented with evidence to the contrary, which we talked about in fact versus opinion.
Yeah.
They may tell you that the expert opinion is fake, that they were paid off, or they just might talk over you.
When have we heard that before?
Plenty of times. So you can't get your facts heard. Yeah, I can't tell you how many times that I've heard, like, well, they're not really qualified, or
the judges were bribed.
They were bribed.
The people that won were friends with the judges.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But since you can't prove that that didn't happen, you're going to walk away frustrated, and the other person is going to just stick to their beliefs even more.
Right.
But yeah, judging bias for or against certain competitors. I didn't win because this person doesn't like me or my mom, or this person doesn't like sewn garments. They only like armor. Like, you see it all the time.
Yep.
All the time. Yeah, and a lot of times you'll see it for them saying that judges aren't qualified.
Oh, so yeah. I mean, that's
their opinion must be fake because they don't know anything.
The judges are not qualified, so therefore, yeah.
Yes. So your fans' personal investment combined with Dunning-Kruger makes them believe that they know more than the judges, and their perception with what they have seen of the contest and the actual content do not align.
Exactly.
Another part of Dunning-Kruger is misinformation endorsement. So these people are going to endorse erroneous information if it fits their opinion, which, again, we see in politics all the time. It means that they won't do their research. They're working researching sources to see if they're legitimate. So if they just see something that validates their opinion, they're going to preach it as gospel.
Right.
It also means that even, independent research, they don't do that. So their beliefs are not going to be challenged by other information because they're going to put the onus of responsibility on you to find independent research, and then they're going to call that fake. So
yes, they are.
Don't waste your energy.
No, don't waste the energy. They're gonna, Yeah.
So we've established that the backseat judges don't have all the information to start with,
right?
Because they don't have all of those things that our judges have.
But they keep
that doesn't
going.
Matter. That doesn't matter to them.
It doesn't, because they keep going.
They keep going.
They have reinforcement
from their social groups.
That's right.
Because if you are surrounded by others that have the same views as you, you are more likely to stick to those views. And a community's opinion can be social norms.
Yeah. So you'll also get info on this from our I'm With Stupid episode, where we talk about how the groupthink mentality works and how that validates choices that people make.
Well, and humans have a need for validation.
They do.
And self-expression, and social media gives us a platform for both.
Both positively and negatively.
Yep. And validation received from others agreeing with them is rewarding them psychologically and reinforces the belief that their perspective has gained support from others.
Yes.
So.
And then that just kind of fuels the fire, because now they feel more right because other people are validating their opinion. Yeah.
And then, kind of like a tick, challenging them is going to just reinforce their beliefs, and they're just going to dig down even deeper. Because somebody that's experiencing Dunning-Kruger, even if you provide proof, they're going to be more entrenched in it. And even more so if the opposing person's argument is emotionally charged.
Yes. And that's with most things. If you add the emotion component into it, people are going to dig their heels in deeper, which is why you see fighting typically around politics, religion, because there's a lot of emotion attached to those topics.
Yeah. Well, and we could even make it as simple as saying, don't be a dick. It's rude. And then people will call us whiny and woke.
And woke. I don't know that anyone calls anyone woke anymore.
I mean, I see it on the internet, so it happens. But I don't know if anybody should call anybody woke.
Right?
It's just a weird term.
It is a weird term.
I'm also, speaking of psychology today.
Hello, psychology today.
I know. Found an article I really liked. It was called, "Is Social Media Making Us Ruder?"
Yes.
And the answer is
yes.
The
answer is yes.
But so here's
That's a whole episode on its own there.
Yes. Here's a quote, and here's another great title for you. Quote by Danny Wallace, who is the author of F You Very Much, The Surprising Truth About Why People Are So Rude. And Danny says, people feel they have to share their opinions on everything, everywhere, at all times, even if backed up by scant knowledge. And then they have to broadcast that opinion, importantly, and in a forthright manner, so that they can cut through the noise. Rudeness cuts through.
Well,
So,
and it does get attention.
it does. Well, and kind of like us talking about those social media influencers
Right.
that will use their platforms sometimes for the power of good and sometimes for the power of evil.
Right.
Depending if you're doing something that's considered controversial or a hot take, or you're kind of a jerk about it, like people will pay attention just because of that,
Right.
regardless of what you're saying.
Right.
So,
they want to know what the drama is. They want the tea.
They do want the tea. Everybody loves a good tea.
They do.
But the internet, it's done lots of things for us since its inception and popularity over the years.
Yes.
Anonymity is going to lead to exaggerated emotional responses when feeling slighted or threatened. Because you never hear of these types of outbursts happening in person.
No, I was going to say probably the worst thing that the internet brought to us was this like extended ability to be anonymous.
Yeah. It's always the internet where you don't have to make like eye contact with people.
Well, yeah, it's not a real person.
It's not a real
removed
person
enough that you can separate yourself from what it would be like to confront someone in actual life.
Yeah, that's not so. Unless you're like directly arguing with somebody that you personally know, which is probably not happening in this particular platform. Even, you got your little picture and your city and state, like you are not a person to that person. You are just a random voice on the internet.
Right.
You are so dehumanized, like to each other, essentially. You are so dehumanized by the person that's making this argument with you that they don't see you as an actual person that they have to have any sort of social etiquette towards.
Right.
They don't have the desire for that. But in quote unquote real life, you don't see these happen at cons because there would be immediate social repercussions, or possibly even repercussions from the event, because a lot of them have rules on conduct and bullying, harassment, sportsmanship. Mm-hmm. So, if you're being obnoxious about this at the event, especially if their judges are guests of honor and not just random people that they hired, but they're like actually like on the guest of honor roster, you're not going to be able to sit there and badmouth them and insult them like to the public at large and stay in that same space. Like they're not going to let you bully and harass their guests.
There's more consequences in quote unquote real life than there are on the internet.
Yeah.
And more direct and immediate consequences.
Mm-hmm.
But when you remove consequences, that governing system also tends to kind of become looser for a lot of people.
This is another reason too why whenever things happen, we tell people bring receipts. Like bring receipts or it didn't happen. So screen cap it or it didn't happen. Record it or it didn't happen. Like you need to document it immediately or it didn't happen, because people delete comments and post things all the time. Like we're seeing a new round of drama like with NYCC this year, and just make sure you're doing your due diligence if you are experiencing this and are going to report it. But impassioned responses are more likely to occur on subjects that people feel like affect them personally. Fans feel good when their subject performs well. Yay, my team won. Losing has the opposite effect, and a slight against their subject feels like a personal attack. So yes, it was very sad for everyone when we did not win at ICL, but it's okay, I promise.
But we're okay with it.
But we're okay. Personal identification can amplify the emotional response to a loss or slight, sometimes leading to stronger language than they would use in the real world. And blaming the judges, the MC. I've seen stagehands be blamed for things, tech be blamed for things, or just, a generic the contest. It diminishes the role of that particular person's subject, how that played out in the outcome of the contest. So we're not going to blame, the cosplayer who lost. And I hate putting it that way because it could be taken the wrong way. But we're not attributing quote unquote blame or responsibility for, the placement onto the person who actually performed. We are blaming literally everyone else in the room because they did not perform up to the fans' expectations. So this can be used as a defense mechanism in the form of emotional avoidance to help people avoid feeling uncomfortable and the pain of facing, quote unquote, their shortcomings. And blaming others helps to regulate those difficult emotions.
Yep. You're deflecting them.
Yes. So what does complaining about contest results online actually do?
Nothing.
Well, it does do some things. It just doesn't do what you want.
It doesn't do anything productive. Let's put it that way.
Yes. So if you're complaining about contest results on the internet, you're, one, insulting the people that actually won. Regardless of whether or not you're actually saying the words, you are implying that they did not deserve to win the award that they were given.
I think this is the one that people really don't think about.
Yes.
Is like how insulting it is. They don't really care if they insult the judges or the contest coordinator.
A lot of times they do that directly.
Right.
But if you were saying that somebody should have won Best in Show, for example, instead, you are directly implying that the person that did win Best in Show did not deserve to win it.
So I still remember, because this happened with our first Best in Show, where they posted, Anime Iowa posted the winners on the website or on Facebook, and people were posting how the Sizer armor should have won Best in Show. And everybody's like that, and they won Best Craftsmanship, so they did get a large placement award. But people were posting they should have won Best in Show, they should have won Best in Show. And eventually we had to jump in and go, performance was required for Best in Show, so they couldn't win Best in Show.
Yep.
And the Sizer cosplayer also jumped in and went, no, I should not have won Best in Show. I won the award I was supposed to win. And that was what, 2015?
Yes. That would have been our first Best in Show after we came back.
So this has been going on for a long time.
And those people did not read the rules.
They did not read the rules, but literally they could not have won the award because they were missing qualifications for the award.
You are also insulting the judges who judged the contest.
Yes.
And you're saying that they are either unqualified or unprofessional, which that might be your intent, but
it could be.
If it's not your intent, this is what you are implying. If you're making these statements online, you are insulting the director who selected the judges and wrote the rules, because you're saying that they are either unqualified or unprofessional in their execution of their duties as director, whether that's regarding writing, clarifying, and enforcing contest rules, or in their selection of a respectable, qualified, and balanced judging panel.
And you just come off whiny and annoying.
Yes. Yeah, very unsportsmanlike. Regardless if you're a participant or a fan,
right?
This can result in being blacklisted from either contests, and this could be either overtly or silently, because there are people that do get blacklisted from participating in contests that are never directly told that. They're just never accepted ever again.
This does happen
all the time.
I would say that is far more frequent than people actually being told they're blacklisted.
Because
the directors are trying to avoid drama.
Yes.
Because these are also the people that will go on social media then and bash the contest. So they silently DQ or silently blacklist them in hopes that they don't ever notice.
Yeah. And this can also result in you being ostracized from social competition circles, either in person or online. So if this is your behavior after every contest that you enter or watch or whatever, people who are a part of that community are not going to want to socialize with you because they do not want to be around that behavior.
They don't want to. And you will find that particularly contestants that have poor behavior, if you look into them further, you're going to find a history of poor behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just that eventually one of their attempts becomes so sensational that it gets out. But you'll typically find there's a trail of behavior.
especially in the US, like they all talk to each other.
Oh, yeah.
So contest directors across all media of costume contests talk to each other, have conversations with each other, and they know about problem children in certain circuits. Like there are people that in communities that are happy to go out of their way to like connect people together to talk about these problems and how to prevent them. And I would never want to be on the receiving end of one of those conversations as far as having my name dropped for something that I did. But I don't behave this way, so I should be good.
Yeah, we shouldn't have this problem because we don't do this behavior. So.
Yeah. So what does blanket complaining about contest results online not do when, and I will put the caveat, when there are not facts to back up a misstep by a judge, coordinator, or participant? Again, if you have valid receipts and can bring them, that's one thing. But if you are just complaining for the sake of complaining with no proof of anything, it's not going to, A, take the award away from the person that won it, B, give the award to the person you think should have won it instead. Because frankly, you don't know if they were second in line to get that award or not.
Right.
Like in our particular instance that Elle was just talking about at Anime Iowa, the person that everyone said should have got the award didn't qualify for it because they didn't meet the criteria to win the award. And they could not have been given the award if it didn't go to us. It would have gone to somebody else. It does not remove a judge from the judging panel or prevent them from being a future judge. It does not remove the director from their position. And it does not change a rule or rubric that you think was unfair. All that being said, what should you do instead?
If you actually want change
if you want to change in the world. If you have concerns about judging qualifications, you could research the judges or reach out to the contest director privately for more information.
It would be nice if contests did announce their judges prior to the contest, which they are getting better at.
Some are,
so that you can go and look up your judges. But I have even noticed that people don't want to put in the work to go look and would prefer that the conventions just post a blurb about the judges themselves.
Well, and I think that that would be better anyway, because not all judges have like a website or a strong social media presence. So at least in that particular instance, you would know a bit of their history as far as the craft goes,
right?
Or how long they've been involved in the community, or if they have any like notable things that they've done. You know, it doesn't need to be like their life's work or like an entire resume of every costume they've ever made and every award they've ever won, but you know, just some information about that person would be beneficial for the people that are interested in knowing. If you have concerns about a specific behavior from one of the judges, reach out to the contest director or the convention through the appropriate feedback channels. Be specific, and if possible, bring receipts. We had an instance happen in a judging room where one of the judges really wasn't paying attention to us, and they were on their phone the entire time. We can say that, but I also know other people complained about the same thing. So it wasn't just us kind of whining about it. And we weren't expecting anything to happen after the fact. We're just like, hey, maybe this isn't the best person if you are looking to invite anybody back, because this is our experience that we had with them. And that is something that objectively happened. It happened in a room full of people, because it's actually a very large space with multiple like judging appointments going on at the same time. So that was something could have been easily checked with others, and other people complained about it too. Be mindful that judges are only able to judge within the confines of the rules, rubrics, and time frames they're given. So this is going to include both the written and verbal documentation received from the maker, typically only during the judging appointment. So a lot of times they don't get information ahead of time, nor are they allotted information to review, nor are they allotted the time to review things ahead of time. So you're looking at whatever your confines of your judging appointment are, whether that's 2.5 minutes, whether that's 5 minutes, whether that's the very rare 10 minutes. You're talking about a very finite amount of time.
Yeah, the judges aren't going to contestants' Instagrams or TikToks and watching crafting video content, or like, we don't have time for that.
Yeah, we did not watch you build your entire build on Twitch. Like, that did not happen.
No, we did not watch it.
We did not do that. So, and we can only judge based on the rubric that we're given. So if certain parts of the rubric are given weighted percentages, we have to follow what the rubric says, because that's the rules for this contest as set forth by the director.
Right, because things like time, number of entries, all of those, none of this stuff, like the rules, the rubrics, the time frames, the number of entries, the process, none of that is in the control of your judges. That is all decided by your contest coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the person you have to reach out to.
Yeah. So if you have a problem with any of those things, talk to that person. Talk to your contest director and be specific and be constructive. So don't just complain and offer no solutions. If you say, hey, I think that we should have less total entries, but longer judging appointment times. Or I would be okay getting judged on Friday if that meant that we could do longer appointments.
We should have judging times, period, and not open call judging so we can be judged.
Yes. So be specific and be constructive. So don't just complain, come with a solution. And it might work out with what they're given and it might not, but you don't know. And if you're just complaining, it comes across as whining.
Well, and a lot of that information will have somewhere to be placed on the convention feedback forms.
Mm-hmm.
Some contests will do feedback forms specifically for themselves, but a lot of times there's a contest section on feedback forms, and you can use that to give some of these ideas to the convention. But instead of just saying, like, you don't want to go in and say, your masquerade was terrible. That's not helpful.
No.
You need to say what you didn't like and what you would like to see change.
Well, and I would recommend doing both of those things in that particular instance.
Yeah.
So I would, like, let's say you're talking about, judging time. Like, I would like to have a judging appointment and I would like for them to be longer than 3 minutes. Put that in there. But also, I would contact the director directly, because not every convention is great with disseminating the feedback where it needs to go.
Right.
But also put it in that form, because if the contest director says, I have had people complain and they would like longer judging times, I need a room for this, or I need a hotel room for my judges on Friday night so that they can judge on Friday, or whatever. That feedback, both to them directly so they know about it, but also to the convention, helps validate that complaint and that request.
Yes.
From the director.
Yeah,
to help get them a bigger budget.
You
and
really
more
want
resources.
To do both, ideally. You want to put the information on the feedback form as well as contact the contest coordinator directly, because the higher ups are going to see that feedback form,
mm-hmm.
and they're going to run it through analytics. And if they're seeing repeated information, that's going to help with change. Right. Because ultimately the contest coordinator can't do anything unless the executives decide they want things to change.
Yes. But if you would like those to see those things, or if you want better pricing, or if you want more sponsor gifts, or any of those types of things, tell both. But if you put it in your feedback form, that's going to help, kind of validate what the director is asking for when they go to the executives to ask for those things, so that they can get more resources in terms of things like time, money, and pricing. If you have concerns about a rule, its enforcement or lack thereof, or a rules call that was made, reach out to the contest director, be specific and constructive. So if there's something that you think should be a rule that isn't, if there's something that you saw that you thought was against the spirit of the rules for a call that was made, talk about it. This is what I noticed. I don't like this because they're either going to agree with you or disagree with you. If it's within their power, they might be able to change the rule or put it through the channels. I know some contest directors have kind of free reign when it comes to their contest rules, and other ones that have to get things voted on by like an executive board for the event. Going forth with some solutions for them and what you saw is going to help be more beneficial than just saying your masquerade sucks.
Yeah, that's not helpful.
Don't complain and offer no solutions.
No.
If you have concerns about a specific behavior from a director, reach out either to them directly or to the convention through the appropriate feedback channels. Be specific and bring receipts. Which route I would choose in this particular instance would depend on if I thought it was negligence, like a mistake, or if it was maliciously intentional, for whether or not I would go to the person directly or above, like follow the chain command up.
Well, and we've been in this situation before, and we went to the executives when we had an issue with a contest coordinator for a contest we were involved with.
What else can you do? You can engage with your favorite cosplayers on social media. So
if you want to support those people that you feel were slighted, that is the ways. You can like, comment, subscribe.
Yes, like, comment, follow, subscribe. You can recommend that your favorite cosplayers be guest speakers and judges for events. A lot of conventions take either feedback through email. Sometimes they have a guest submission form. Sometimes they post on social media. Sometimes people post their opinion about that on social media anyway. So just, spam the events that you think that they should be involved with and let them know. And I see this online all the time, this little verbiage people use whenever you're deciding if you should post something. And I think that it kind of rings true for everything, but this especially. It's think, THINK, and before posting, you should ask yourself, is it true? Is it helpful? Is it inspiring? Is it necessary? And is it kind?
That kind of made me think of the caveat in this whole thing, right? Because here's the thing, complaining in a controlled and responsible manner doesn't get you any attention. It's not going to get you social media attention. It's not going to get you likes. It's not going to get you follows. One of the things we have to look at is that some people who choose to publicly complain and bash contestants and judges and contests and MCs and conventions and coordinators are doing it for the attention and the social media clout. Because drama equals views.
All publicity is good publicity.
Which is ultimately why you're going to see a lot of this behavior continue, because that reward is fed by the social media. Like the social media monster loves the drama. It loves the views. So you have a lot of people out there who aren't looking for solutions. They're looking for attention. And so you do have to take that into consideration, but that is also a different episode.
Yes.
So we are not going to go into that, but I felt like this would come up.
Yeah.
Where people would be like, but what about the social media influencers who bank on these kinds of situations for their content? And we will talk about that in a completely different episode.
Yeah, they don't
as
care
to
about any of this.
Why this content works the way that it does, and how a social media influencer could be both a positive influence in these types of situations or possibly a negative influence, depending on how they approach some of these topics. But that's not for this episode.
That's not for this episode.
No, it is not. It was very Psychology Today of us.
It was very Psychology Today of us. Yes, some of it was Psychology Today.
It's given Psychology Today, as the children would say.
Yes. We need a catchy episode title to go with that. Like these Psychology Today articles.
Right?
But anyway.
I don't know. I guess we'll have to think something fancier than Backseat Judging, I guess.
Witty.
I don't know if I've got anything. I mean, it's super tempted to call it Unskilled and Unaware of.
Maybe that's the subtitle. Maybe it's Backseat Judging, Unskilled and Unaware
of it. Yeah. I like it.
Okay. All right, friends. I'm Ash.
I'm Elle.
We are Lavi Cosplay.
And this is Shenanigans Cosplayers Say.
You've been listening to Shenanigans Cosplayers Say, produced by LVC Productions. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Twitch, and YouTube at Lavi Cosplay. Our podcast Instagram is podcastscs. Our website is lavicosplay.com. Have a fun, crazy con or cosplay-related story, absurd cosplay question, or just something in general to share with us? Email us at podcastscs@gmail.com or DM us at podcastscs or lavicosplay on Instagram. If you like what you heard, please rate, review, and subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you for listening, and remember, just because you can doesn't mean you should.